Yeah, so here's going to be the story of my first time being a practitioner and my first session as a practitioner of biomagnetism, right? So the first person I practiced on is this rather old like mid 60s dude. Um, I practiced on him at a week long, like the place where I originally got trained up. It was in Nashua, New Hampshire, right? And it was around day four. It was a week long event, and around day four is when we like started practicing on our partners, right? And we all just got randomly assigned partners who were at the event, right? And I just got paired up with like one of the only other dudes there because it was mostly like it was like 20 or so odd people, but like there's only three of us that were dudes and the two other dudes were like 50 or 60, so I was like kind of like out of place there, but it was kind of cool. But anyhow, so there's not a lot of like young folks doing this. There's a handful. Um, so yeah, the guy I practiced on, right? So I gotta back up and say how he even like found his way into the biomagnetism world, right? Um, Very long story short, he went through like a series of really bad like just a lot of medical misfortunes, like sinus infections, like headaches. At a certain point, his kidneys started failing. He started getting like kidney stones. I got to keep him anonymous for everybody's sake, um, or for his sake, and because it would just be bad practice for me to go around spilling people's identity as a practitioner. Anyhow, so he was not doing good, right? And then a couple of years ago, just one one unfortunate event stacked upon the other, like one of like something about him getting mugged, then like his dog died, and then the compounding stress of that and all the like the kidney stones, and then going in and out of the hospital, getting pretty much band-aid solutions, and pretty much having a fucking like roundabout trip to the hospital like every other week, right? And at a certain point he got like he just took matters in his own hands and started like seeing a chiropractor, because at this point like anything would help, right? And then the chiropractor was like, hey, I know this like magnet lady, like a lot of people seem to like rave about her. They just, I don't know what she does, but she makes people feel better. I'd recommend you give her a call. And so the dude does, right? And then couple months in, he had like miraculous results, right? Results that he wasn't getting from the hospitals, right? And so he's not at 100%, but he's like significantly better, right? And I got to practice one of like pulled him off to the side and practice on him, right? And long story short, we had to do a like a full on intake, right? Which is about an hour 15, hour 30, right? So the intake, what that consists of is the first like 45 minutes is just hearing out the person's story and hearing out why they even like ended up in here in the first place. Because for them to end up at a biomagnetism practitioner's place and to pay the money for it, like it means they've been wronged by like they have nowhere else to turn to, or either that or they have enough money to where like they care about their health enough, but oftentimes it's just like they're kind of lost and they need somebody to help them out, right? Because they're kind of just getting wrung for all their money by the doctors and getting no real help, right? So he reached that point where he was getting no help whatsoever and just getting coughing up money to get told, oh, it must be genetics or some shit, right? And so you, for the first like 45 minutes, I pretty much listened to his whole story, right? Where like 98% of the talking was him, right? I made it like, I try to like not get affected by, like, try to make as few facial reactions as possible, right? And because he started telling me some really dark shit, like really like heavy-handed shit that like had been weighing on him like forever, right? And it, it's almost like the first half of the intake is meant to be sort of like getting to know a person on like a human to human level, right? Or just like hearing them out, right? Because that's kind of lost. Like when like that doesn't happen in a normal hospital, right? Unless you like pay for like a damn therapist who's gonna try to prescribe you some like antidepressant bullshit. Um, yeah. So I just listened to him, and I tried to like just be the best listener like as good of a listener as I could have been, right? Because at a certain point, he when he was telling me all the really like dark shit, right? I was like, dude, how many other people know this? And he said something like it was definitely less than 10. I think it was like 6 people or so. And I just like nodded. I was like, huh. And that's kind of like crazy too, because like at the age in your mid 60s, like you've been having to like carry some heavy-handed shit like that, where like you can't tell the full story, like you can't fully like express yourself, or like you have to like stop whenever like you can't tell somebody the full story of your background, right? And that tends to like so not being like truthful, right? He, that kind of weighs on somebody because you have to like always like half step and like second guess what you're saying, and eventually like if you get to a point where like you've like tried to be vulnerable a couple of times, and then anytime you've done that, whatever you said gets thrown back at you or gets weaponized against you, it's you're gonna have to like harden yourself and just like swallow it and like not tell anybody, right? um at a certain point, those sort of thoughts or emotions that never like get expressed or like seen like without any judgment, they tend to like manifest and warp their way out of you through typically through disease, or in some cases even cancer, right? So yeah, going back to the dude, right? I was like, I'm one of like the handful of people that have heard what he said, right? Um, and he was tearing up quite a bit, and I was doing my best to just be as neutral as possible, right? And so when you've like let go of like a really deep like load of baggage, right? Typically you might be like scared a bit too, right? But it because in the past, if you've experienced like people throwing that back at you, you're just like part of you is still like braced for impact, right? And then him like after the whole like him like talking about it, it, it felt like a huge like weight was lifted off his shoulders, right? And like physically too, right? And so you just at that point I was like, all right, well the first half's done, so just lay down on the massage table, right? Or face up with all his clothes on, right? And then that's when I started doing the muscle testing, right? And he was already like half asleep, right? Just laying on the table, right? Because like typically after like a big emotional episode, like the first thing you want to do is just rest and sleep and like disconnect from everything, right? And his body instinctively knew that he just wanted some rest, right? Um, so I got to work. Just I'm rather slow with the muscle testing, so it took me a bit longer to get all the magnets on him. And once I finally got them on, he was already like dead asleep. And I was like, hey, dude, I'm gonna wake you up in 20 minutes, all right? And he's like, huh. I'm like, all right, sounds good. I'll be back. And then I just piss off for a little bit. I check back in 10 minutes later, right? And he's just knocked out cold. I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna wake him up. Just that's him. And then I come back another 10 minutes later, right? And like I just kind of nudge him gently on the shoulder. I'm like, "Hey man, what's up, dude?" And he like wakes up and he's like, "How long has it been?" I'm like 20 minutes, dude. And he's like, "Dude, it felt like 12 hours." I was like, "Rock on, dude, rock on." He's like, "You're good at this." I'm like, Thanks, brother. I'm gonna start taking these off you. He's like, take your time, take your time. And then I asked him like, yo, like, what? How was it? Like, how was the? Did I do all right? He's like, really good, man. Um, it didn't feel like 20 minutes. It felt like a whole day, right? And he told me that halfway through it, he woke up, right? Around the 10-minute or 12-minute mark, he woke up and he had like tears like streaming down his face, right? But he tried to like move, but he just felt like so like heavy and like almost like in a state of sleep paralysis, and he like tried to like nudge his arms to like like wipe him off, but he was just too tired and like struggled for a little bit, then just knocked right back, like went right back to sleep, right? Then the next thing he remembers is hey man, what's up, brother? And then somebody rubbing his arm. um yeah, so he that's just been my first experience as a like my as being a practitioner. Typically, you want to get a lot of sleep after. Whenever I had sessions done on me, um, I'd have oftentimes very trippy ass dreams. Um, and the word of advice is I would lean towards getting as much quality sleep as possible to all my clients. So yeah, I'm kind of rambling at this point, but hopefully you get the gist. If you're interested, I'll probably have the link somewhere below. Yeah, again, if you're interested, or somebody that I've spoken to in person, I'll have the link below. It's the title of my place is Ocean Heart Biomagnetism, because eventually, way down the line, I want to like open up a shop like next to the beach, so that like you can get your session done, then you can just take a stroll off on the beach or get a tan going too. That's way down the line. As of right now, it's just next to my freaking bedroom on a couch, right? Or either on a couch or on a massage table, whatever you choose. Um, a house that's not even mine. I'm just like renting a room in it. Um, yeah, it's in Lowell, not the sketchy side, but it's in Belvedere. Um, yeah. Anyhow, click the link. There should be my Calendly. Then from there, I'll message you the address, because I don't want to like just slap my address like to the public for the whole world to see. But it is in Lowell. So again, not the sketchy side, but yeah. If Again, if you're interested, give me a holler. I hope you enjoyed the video. More to come. Thanks. Bye.